Well, g'day. Whoops. Well, g'day, and welcome to another episode of Lanark County Confidential, brought to you on WRVO Radio Network, Reno Viola, via part of Reno Viola Outdoors. I'm your host, Mike Lynch Staunton, and this is episode 8. This is called Lanark County. Why? Well, one of the reasons is because it's about Lanark County. This time of year is pretty special. As I said in the last one, the Sugar Shack with the maple syrup being made and the lakes and everything unthawing. Well, maybe not unthawing these days, but with spring coming and stuff, it's a pretty special place to be, in my opinion, anyways, in Ontario. So, that being said, just talk about a few things. One of the things that I just like to mention here before I go any further was last week my neighbor, well, actually a couple of weeks ago, I went over to my neighbor's place and asked him. He's got a couple big maple trees on his property, and I asked him if I could tap a few, and being neighborly, of course, he said, sure, go ahead. And I was out last weekend. Was it last weekend or weekend before? Anyways, I think it was the weekend before. No, it was like, anyways. I was out looking at some trees to top and doing my survey, and I was just standing there at the fence line looking at this one tree. Well, actually, it was a group of trees, and I could see a maple in there, and I'm looking at, okay, so that's a maple. And looks like to be, I know it's not an oak, and it's because I'm looking at the leaves on the ground. I'm saying, okay, so there's elm on it. So those three got to be elms, and that one stuck right in the middle has got to be a maple. And I'm looking for the oak around, and I can't see I can't see any oak around except for down further from me. So obviously they just blew in there. And I hear this little sort of on the ice or on the snow, and to me it sounds like a squirrel or the tree, the leaves blowing around or something like that. And then I hear it again. I thought, that sounds an awful lot like my husky. I have a female husky, and as she runs across the snow, hard packed snow, it's she's light enough that you don't hear her really crunching and breaking through and stuff like that. So it sort of just sounds like somebody running lightly on top of the snow, and so that caught my attention. And I looked to my right, I didn't say anything. I looked to my left, and as I looked to my left, as the noise was coming towards me, I saw this animal coming towards me, and I'm going, okay, how the hell could my dog have gotten out and followed me all the way out here? And as it got to the fence and jumped onto the top of the fence, I said, that's not my dog. That's a wolf. Seriously. Well, I'm going coyote at least anyways. But to me, it looked like one of those crosses. To me, it was bigger. I've seen coyotes before. I see them around here constantly at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've seen coyotes a lot. To me, this was just, and we get them at this time. We get them starting February till I guess probably June. Single, well, not June obviously because they've probably kidded up at that point, but you'll see single wolves, and I'm talking about the tracks. I don't see the actual animal. I don't see them that often. This is the first time I've seen this in the 10 years we've been here. But you'll see the tracks, and especially in the snow, especially this time of year because it's thawing and freezing and thawing and freezing. So, one day you'll go out and it'll be soft, and then something will go through, and the next morning you'll go out and it'll all be frozen in there. You can see it very plainly. So I expect them because the coyotes at this time of year, or in February anyways, where the females are off looking to get mated. So you'd always see those tracks. So this was very interesting because as it jumped up onto the fence, jumped down, it was probably about 30 feet away from me, and it had like a wolf head and a coyote body. And it stopped. I mean, I turned and I looked at it, and it looked at me, and we both went, holy cow. Well, I went, my God, that's pretty freaking cool. And then I thought to myself, okay, my machete's over here close to my left hand, so I'm not too scared at that point. And then it didn't run off real fast, but it was at a good pace. It took off, and I could see it for about a good 20 seconds after that as it took off through the brush and past the other trees and that. So that was my big thrill for the last couple of weeks anyways. That being said, that's part of living in Lanark County. You got to sort of put up with that stuff. I understand now why the horses get rattled at times. I've been out there in the middle of the afternoon. See, this reminds me of another time when I was out there one day, and I would watch the horse. We've got 3 horses. Well, we have more horses, but we have 3 now. And what they'll do is they'll watch the tree lines. And this is in June or July, and they would constantly, because I run my business out of the house, was watching them, and anywhere between say around 11 o'clock in the morning to about 1:30 in the afternoon, they would be constantly looking at the tree line, and they'd all be standing there. And it wasn't because the wind was blowing or anything like that. It was just because they were. So I started hanging out there and watching them, and then one day I saw this. It was obviously a buck following the tree line, and it was I think about 1:30 in the afternoon. So then a couple of weeks go by, and I go back out there again, and this was early in the morning. I thought, well, geez, it was a really windy day as well too, and I thought, well, I'll whip the 4-wheeler out there and see what's going on, and I just wanted I had the urge to go for a real fast 4-wheeler drive because I got a little track back there. So I whipped out on the 4-wheeler, and as I was coming back, so the wind's going, how can I explain this? Wind's going perpendicular to me, and as I'm coming back through this one little tree line area where it closes down, I look up and I see this big buck just walking along the inside of the tree line. And well, it's actually where I they collect sap for the maple syrup. It's all on our maple trees back there. It's a rock pile, and I think there was an old homestead back there or something like that years ago. So I'm watching this deer, and I'm thinking to myself, if I get off here and I vector myself, I can get in front of this, because there's a little hill that he's going to go behind, and it's going to block his view of me. And the way the wind was blowing, he'll never ever scent me because I'm behind him and the wind's blowing. He's walking into the wind. So I got behind him, and as he walked through the bush, I lost sight of him, but I got to the front of the hill, and we were almost parallel to each other. And he was in this one little stand of where there's a maple tree and there's a bunch of little saplings growing and stuff like that. So he was chowing down on that and looking for stuff in the leaves and stuff. And then he started moving. There's a couple of these. So he starts to move to the next one. And I'm out there, and I've got a pair of overalls on. Coveralls. Overalls with a white shirt on. So, and I've got a pair of glasses that sort of resemble deer's eyes. Sunglasses where it resemble deer's eyes. And I'm crouched behind this bush. And as he keeps, looking for food and browsing along, he sees me. He sees the edge of me. He sees actually my short sleeve sleeve, and he flapping the wind. And everything was fine until he saw that. So at that point, he's not sure what he's seeing. And he takes a couple of steps towards me, and we're probably about 10 yards apart at this point. Maybe 15. Yeah, let's be, you know what? That's just so everybody can be happy, or say 20, okay? But it's probably more about 15. even less than that, I think. So anyways, he looks at me and he takes a couple of steps towards me. At that point I went, well, I've got the bush and I've got some trees that I can go hide behind as well too, which aren't too far away. So I'm not too worried about it. But I wanted to get as close as I could to him. So I stayed there, and I didn't, when he stepped towards me, and then they do that, if everybody's been in the woods looking for deer, they do that thump, 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 type thing, and that's their, I'm getting pissed, and you're in my area, and this and that, and I just stayed there, and that was it. So, and then at that point, because I wasn't moving, he started moving on. What he did was he moved up to the fence line, he moved along the fence line, he came past me, and then he came down behind me to get the wind off of me. And once he scented me, and I watched this, it took about 20 minutes. I didn't move for 20 minutes. So he came all the way around, and I lost sight for him a couple of times, but then I would catch him out of the corner of my eye as I wasn't moving much. I still stayed where I was, but I'd move my head and sort of move when I didn't see him. And he came, like I say, he came right back down around behind me. He was down behind my hindquarters, which if I was a deer or whatever, would have been my hindquarters. And once he smelled me, because that's the way the wind was going, he just took off. And it was so cool. And it just sort of, it reminds me of what being in Lanark County is like. It's because of experiences like that that you don't get. I mean, what? You might see a skunk in the city, a raccoon in the city. Now, granted, it'd be a big, huge mother skunk and it'd be a huge mother raccoon. Like, I don't think I'd see I don't think I'd see a coon. I should watch my language here. I don't think I see a coon in the city that fat. No, sorry. I don't think I'd see a coon in the country that fat. So, no. Anyways, that's politically incorrect, maybe. The inference is there is raccoon as an animal, okay? So, but that's the fun thing about being in Lanark County. The other thing is the turkeys. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but my husky is pretty good at smelling turkeys. And we were out, for the past 3 or 4 weeks, about a month and a half, I said, we've been seeing these pretty consistent turkey tracks. So I'm going to do a show on that. I got a buddy who does turkey hunting, so I think he's going to come in. Probably maybe one of the next couple of shows we'll do that. So, and I think I'm going to go out this year with him, and we'll explain what it takes to get going turkey hunting and stuff like that. So, anyhow, what can we talk about today? Well, I was listening to Reno's show with Daryl Crosney there, and you know what? I really enjoy Daryl. Some guys do, some guys don't. I'm kind of outspoken, so I am now. But if anybody was a customer of mine, they'd know that I'm pretty much outspoken. And I sort of, take some people and bend them a bit. So, but what can I say? That's me. Sometimes people need to be woken up, but anyways, I was listening to George's rant there a bit about PETA and the thing about and Daryl on Reno's show and stuff like that. But before we get into that stuff, one thing I'd like to mention is we lost somebody in the industry, very, very, who's played a big role. That was Doug Hannon, the bass professor. Guy apparently has caught well over 800 largemouth over 10 pounds. I've watched a couple of videos that he did in conjunction with Glenn Lau, and very, very knowledgeable man, fish biologist, obviously, who spent a lot of time making sure that the largemouth bass was understood by anglers and conservationists, and it was something that we need to appreciate. So, especially largemouth bass. He was an innovator as well too. Created a few. He was an inventor actually as well too. I didn't realize that, but because I bought his snakes years ago as well. So that's a sad note that we've lost. I would say a guy like Doug Hannon is a pioneer in the industry. So just like I said, I wanted to mention that. anyways, getting back to other things. The deer, the coyotes, and the maple syrup. Well, yeah, maple syrup. Well, the maple syrup's going good, but it's going to be a bit. So, anyways, this weather sort of knocked it back a bit. What I wanted to say is about what I heard on Georgia's show and what I heard Daryl saying, things that I've heard and seen about the M&R and where our industry is going, and not an industry, but where this whole thing could end up if we don't watch it sooner or later. And it's been in it because everybody else says, well, nobody's saying anything, nobody's saying anything. I think a lot of this goes to the fact that there's this maybe a certain amount of we call it when somebody doesn't agree with you when you're a kid, they bully you. When they don't agree with you when they're an adult, they shun you. So if you're a celebrity, you're not as popular. And that can be very well crafted by the media and stuff like that. So try to get a message out these days the way things can and are censored through the media. It seems like this radio network can be one of the only venues that you're going to be able to have to voice your opinion without a certain amount of censorship. I mean, the only censorship we're using at this point is through our own brain filters. If you listen to Daryl, quite a passionate man at how some of this I got to call it an industry, because to me that's where it's going. There's a couple of people that I know in the industry that are connected with the M&R, and from talking to them, it's not a matter of conservation anymore. It's a matter of managing the resources as an industry to make revenues in the guise of this government's that's saying it's all about jobs and it's all about jobs and all about jobs. I understand it is all about jobs. We all need money, but there's a certain point in time when that industry is no longer going to be here. We don't have any more steam engines. We don't have any Pony Express. We don't have a lot of things. The reason being is because for political reasons, they were replaced with other industries. Obviously, there's an evolution. The horse led to the horse, or to the horse and buggy, to the horseless carriage. The steam engine led to the diesel locomotive. But if you look at it, this whole country was developed on the backs of the railroad, and then that was replaced slowly by the trucking companies. Now, go back through it. There's an agenda by the rubber companies to make sure that the wheels on the roads were rubber and not steel. So if you can't tell me that's not a political agenda, then I think you need to go re-look your definition. But let's go on from there and just say that the ministry is more interested under the guise of a political agenda to make the resources in Ontario a money-making venture, okay? Then they're not going to look at it from a conservation point of view. Primarily, they're going to look at it from a management point of view. And what they're going to do is they're going to get rid of all the scientific people who are saying this is what we need to do, this is what we've studied, and they're going to put managers in the places of those people, and that's exactly what they're doing. If you look at the M&R these days, and I'm not a sexist here, and don't get me wrong or anything like that, but it's becoming a female predominant or a female management predominant organization, or I gotta say organization, whatever, government department. That's the way it's going. The head of it is female, and I'm not trying to be sexist here, so don't get me wrong, but what she's doing is she's hiring a lot of female managers to replace the older, the people that are retiring, or the people that just can't stand to see the way the M&R is going these days. It's too bad. It's really, really too bad, because this is our government. This is what we as anglers and hunters are supposed to want. This is what our voice or message should be portrayed to the government through our organizations. But and as a lot of people say, you know, it upsets me, it upsets me, it upsets me. As I tried years ago on just it was a board for fishermen. I tried to get them just to sign a petition to state, you know, it was because of the ban on lead and how that was being portrayed, and trust me, I'm all for banning lead at this point. From the studies that I've read and the stuff that I've seen, we can afford to go to tungsten and stuff like that. I don't lose enough lead sinkers in a year not to, you know. Well, I've gone to tungsten these days, anyways, but I don't use enough lead sinkers to worry about that. But anyways, just from the aspect of if the M&R goes towards and I don't know how this got from Lanark County to the M&R rant, but it comes down to if the person in charge of your resource is looking at to make money off of it rather than conserve it, I think pretty much the writing is on the wall at that point. And the wall is going to say, okay, let's, you know, clear cut this. Let's, you know, allow this much more development on this lake. Let's open up this area. Let's, you know, allow them to do. And it's going to be managed. It's going to be managed as a resource rather than conserved as a resource. So we'll see what happens. But I think a lot of people are scared the way that the things are portrayed. That, you know, and here's the thing. If they are going to manage it, they took the bear hunt away in the springtime. To me, that makes no sense. But that's what I'm saying. It's the illusion that they come across as doing. In one way, they say, okay, we're going to manage it and we're going to make it a resource. But in the other way, they go, well, we don't want to offend the people that don't want to see those cute and cuddly bears shot. It makes no sense. When that cute and cuddly bear is coming into your backyard, you know, when I go head to head with a wolf at 30 feet, I understand why there's a spring bear hunt. You know, the more you cut down the forests and trees, the more you take away their environment, the closer they're going to come to that. I mean, ask anybody in British Columbia. Like, hello, I'm on the edge of the mountains and I don't expect the bear to come down into my, you know, my backyard. I've talked to many people in this county who said, oh yeah, we've had bear in our backyard. Well, you got to expect it. And if you start encroaching on their environment, they're going to start encroaching on yours. So there's a certain amount of control that you need in order to take the fear out of the people. But, you know, the government doesn't see that. All they see is, geez, these people aren't going to vote for me next year. And if those people aren't going to vote for me, guess what? Let's get rid of the spring bear hunt. That's the way they think. Politicians, trust me, I think we used to have, when I was growing up, you know, 40 years ago, intelligent politicians back then. Wow. But I don't know what's happened to them. They become more managers of the polls rather than actually putting their balls on the line to say, you know, this is something that we're either going to continue to do or we're going to implement because we need to do. Trust me, I could tell you stuff about the auto industry that they should have done years and years ago. That this may get me into a lot of trouble here, but you know. The cars, they're getting really good fuel mileage now. Why? Because we had that technology in the outboard industry 20 years before the cars, you know, and the cars companies actually had an interest in the technology that they put in outboards. So they knew about it and they just weren't implementing about it because they didn't have to. They didn't have to. The EPA, the government didn't come along. The government wasn't strong enough to come along and say, you guys should do this. But you know what? Guess what happened? They went bankrupt. So, actually, I should stop at this point because that's very passionate. This whole thing. Anyways, so let's get back to Lanark County and why I live in Lanark County. And that's because of the beautiful things that you see. When I take the dogs for a walk in the morning, it gets rid of all this. So, and what I'm doing this morning is I'm doing it early enough so I can go take the dogs for a walk. That's what we're about to go do, is take the dogs for a walk and see what else we can see today. So, thanks for listening. Appreciate you tuning in each week to listen to me go on. The next couple of shows are going to be very interesting, so you're going to want to stay tuned for those. I'd just like to thank Reno for the opportunity to broadcast on his radio network, WRVO, via Reno via Outdoors. He's been in the industry a long time. He's got his kahunas together. He's very well known, and I appreciate this opportunity. And I will be here next week. Actually, I'll be here. I'll be going to be doing a couple more real fast here, but I'll be doing maybe a bit of a fishing report because as the weather has tightened things up, as they say, I might be able to get out for a half a day just to see if I can find some crappies. If you're looking for crappies, I'd be looking right in front of the bays where they spawn. So find the deeper water in front of the bays that we spawn and find some gravel and find some soft. Find a gravel to soft transition there if you can. Try that. They may be right up underneath the ice as well too. So anyways, good luck. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next week.